Thanks everybody for being here. Good morning. In a few moments, thousands of law enforcement officers and public safety personnel from across the country will be sworn in for the 60th inauguration ceremonies. I cannot thank these partners enough for the dedication to this event and their commitment to our great nation. We owe all of our partners a debt of gratitude that can never be repaid. We are especially grateful for the agility in working with us and shifting the inauguration festivities indoors because of the expected frigid temperatures. Since late Friday afternoon, the various teams responsible for securing the inauguration have been meeting to pivot from a series of outdoor events to 2 indoor venues. Their flexibility and dedication throughout this process has been truly inspirational. The inauguration has been designated a National Special Security event by the Department of Homeland Security. This designation allows for a whole-of-government approach that relies on collaboration with event security professionals who are among the best in the world. NSSCs are designed to be nimble and adaptable when faced with any potentially hazardous situation, including the type of inclement weather expected on Monday. The Secret Service already planned to secure Capital One Arena with a limited perimeter for this evening's rally. However, this site now moves to the forefront of our security plans as the celebration at the arena will replace the scheduled parade at the White House. An expanded perimeter will be established at approximately 8 a.m. on Monday. The inner portion of this expanded perimeter will be accessible only to authorized attendees. The outer perimeter will be accessible only to pedestrians. All individuals entering the perimeter must undergo screening at pedestrian checkpoints. Restrictions around Capital One Arena will be lifted after the event. However, some road closures and parking restrictions will continue through Tuesday. Information regarding specific road closures, adjustments to public transportation, and parking restrictions have been posted at www.inauguration.dc.gov. Engagement with businesses and residents in the affected areas is ongoing, and information is being shared through businesses and neighborhoods associations. We recognize that these adjustments undoubtedly impact the people of Washington, D.C. We aim to create the safest environment possible while reducing the impact on residents and businesses. A helpline has been established to answer questions from those living and working near the inauguration sites. The Secret Service and DC's Homeland Security and Emergency Management Agency have shared this number with the affected community groups. Again, I want to thank all of our partners for the resolve as we switch to an indoor inauguration. I would like to recognize the community for their patience as we adjust our plans to accommodate these cold winter conditions. I would now like to introduce Chief Pamela Smith of the Metropolitan Police Department, who has been among our most steadfast supporters throughout this process.
Good morning. Thank you, Special Agent McCall. I am Chief Pamela Smith of the Metropolitan Police Department here in Washington, D.C. All of our partners involved in securing the 60th presidential inauguration have been working tirelessly and collaboratively to adjust plans as needed. Our teamwork and the ability to quickly adapt is a reflection of the detailed preparation and flexibility that goes into ensuring the safety and security of an event of this magnitude. With the inauguration parade now taking place inside Capital One Arena, and as you are currently seeing, there will be impacts to residents, businesses, and visitors in Chinatown and Penn Quarter neighborhoods. The updated road closures and access points are posted online at inauguration.dc.gov. As you know, contingencies were a part of our security planning with our partners, and MPD is fully prepared to support this adjustment. Whether the event is indoors or outdoors, our mission remains the same: to ensure a safe and successful presidential inauguration. We recognize that moments like the presidential inauguration are significant opportunities for people to exercise their First Amendment rights. On Monday, MPD is actively monitoring 19 scheduled First Amendment demonstrations across the city, and we are fully prepared to address them. We are continuing to work closely with coordination with the United States Secret Service, which leads the National Special Security event. Our officers are on the ground supporting road closures, managing crowd safety, securing events, and assisting with dignitary movements. The thousands of officers joining us from across the United States, along with the National Guard, are fully integrated into these updated plans, and they are ready to assist. I also want to thank my partners and my colleagues here at the U.S. Secret Service, the U.S. Capitol Police, U.S. Park Police, WMATA, and also our Metro Transit Police. who have been very, very engaged and intentional about how we will move with regards to how things have changed rather quickly. But I also want to thank the men and women of the Metropolitan Police Department for also being very flexible and ready to pivot on a moment's notice to keep the city and the inaugural activities safe. And finally, I want to thank our community for their patience and coordination as we make the necessary changes in our city. Washington, D.C. is proud to host this inaugural and historical event. I will now turn it over to Chief Tom Manger of the United States Capitol Police.
Thank you, Chief. Tom Manger, U.S. Capitol Police. Our security posture at the Capitol remains basically the same, even with this change. As folks know, the inauguration will now be done inside in the rotunda of the Capitol, and there will be some limited number of seats in and around the Capitol Visitor Center for invited guests, but that'll be a very limited number of folks. But our posture outside the Capitol will remain much the same. The security fencing and the law enforcement personnel from up and down the East Coast will be deployed to ensure that the events inside the Capitol go on as planned with no disruptions. We do anticipate that the more than 200,000 people that had tickets to the event will want to do something where they might be able to see the president or the motorcade while they're here in D.C. So there will be several opportunities for them at the Capital One Arena and other places. So we will have folks, along with the Secret Service, along with MPD and all of our allied agencies, all along the areas where either the motorcade or the president plans to be. We do anticipate that we're going to have a crowd around the Capitol, and again, our posture remains the same for the security there. And I want to thank all of our partners. There's always, with these kinds of events, the necessity to be flexible, to be nimble, to be able to handle the changes that occur. And I really appreciate all of our allied agencies who have assisted us all along the way. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Brian Dwyer. I'm the Chief Operating Officer at WMATA. I'm joined today by Chief Mike Gonzalo, our Chief of Police. I want to thank Special Agent in Charge McCool, Chief Smith, and Chief Manger for having us here today. Metro is ready for Inauguration Day. We have changed our service plans after the inaugural plan were moved indoors, or the events were. All information is posted at WMATA.com inauguration. On Inauguration Day, Metro is now opening at 5 a.m. and will run normal weekday service with trains running every 5 to 12 minutes depending on the line. Customers attending events at Capital One Arena should take the red, blue, orange, or silver lines to Metro Center and walk to the 9th and G security checkpoint to access the arena on Monday. Some stations in the downtown area will be closed for security reasons. They include Archives, Federal Triangle, Mount Vernon Square, and Pentagon. Trains will bypass these stations. Gallery Place will be open only to customers transferring between the red, yellow, and green lines. That means no entering or exiting Gallery Place on January 19th and 20th due to the security perimeter. Several stations will be closed due to inaugural events at various times. These include Judiciary Square, McPherson Square, and Union Station. They will all have some entrances closed. The stations will still be accessible through other entrances. We'll also have 41 Metro bus routes on detour because of an inaugural activities, and we'll be on a supplemental Saturday schedule tomorrow, which means about 144 bus routes running with some additional service. MTPD is fully staffed and will be patrolling stations. They are joined by police agencies from across the region and country to keep Metro and inauguration participants safe. We want to thank them for coming in their assistance. As we always say around security events, if you see something, say something. This applies to our employees as well as our customers. You can send a text message to MTPD at MyMTPD, that's 696-873, or find an officer in any of our stations. You can also always call 911. Again, you'll find all information and details at wamata.com/inauguration. And with that, I'll turn it back to Chief Smith. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go ahead and open up the floor for any questions from the media corps.
I know you mentioned Friday, late afternoon, you started having meetings to talk plans, but has there always been sort of backup plan in case the inauguration or services move indoors or there be any other major changes?
Yes, there's always been a plan to move it indoors if necessary. Multiple plans, actually. So this is one of those multiple plans.
And was this moved indoors just for the weather, or are there other security issues that flag alarms?
No other security issues whatsoever, solely due to the President's decision to move it inside because of the weather.
I was just going to ask him, based on what he asked, what was the impact of what happened in New Orleans and what happened during the past election cycle on the plans?
So this is a national special security event, our 5th one in 12 months here in DC, 83rd overall. Those type of attacks are always part of our plan. I won't tell you that we didn't take a look at them again and say, hey, can a vehicle get through here and get into our secure perimeter? I'm super confident that they cannot. So the New Orleans attack, we're good. And then the Las Vegas, we're good on those things as well, inside our perimeter. Now, if you see something outside of our perimeter, you need to call 911 or you need to tell the first police officer you see.
Oh, I was referring to what happened in Pennsylvania during the election cycle.
You're talking about Butler?
The attempted assassination.
Yeah, so.
Yeah. Yes, Butler,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Well, first off, that can absolutely never, ever happen again. We took a close look at what happened there, and those things that went wrong have been fixed. And so you will not see something like that here at the inauguration.
And the other question is, what's the expansion of the perimeter? What did it change from because we moved over to Capitol?
So we basically moved it out 3 blocks, essentially. So we'll have 2 layers of anti-scale fencing that you'll see. We'll have hard blocking vehicles in concrete, and then we'll have another block expanded out there with, you'll see police.
Agent McCool.
Yes, sir.
So in your opening remarks, you mentioned authorized attendees to
Yep.
the Capital One Arena. Who are the authorized attendees? How do they know? How do you know? And then to that, the fact that we're just hours away really from this event tomorrow, and people don't know, and as one of you said, maybe hundreds of thousands of people still coming. What's the plan for 100,000 people showing up at 9th and G trying to get into a building that holds 20,000 people?
So with respect to the tickets, I have to defer to PIC, Presidential Inauguration Committee.
So to be clear, you do not know who authorized attendees will be at this point?
Well, for me, authorized is you've been through security checkpoints. No one's getting into the building without going through our magnetometers. And so from my point of view, once you go through the mags, you're now authorized.
Okay, but you have to have a ticket to get in? I mean, I
I'm
know.
going to defer to the PIC on that.
Okay,
I
and
think,
so then I get that. I won't
Yeah.
beat that to
Yeah.
death. But so what you guys will be faced with, very likely, is the probability of tens, if not hundreds of thousands of people showing up at 9th and G,
Yep.
hoping to get into a building that only holds 20,000 people.
Correct.
How do you manage that crowd? How are
well,
you
we're
preparing?
getting ready to swear in thousands of officers. We have 25 military, public safety, and police officers ready for duty. And so we will shift those assets. We have not cut anything from what our original plan was. And so we have a plan. And I'm very confident with our partners here that we will be ready.
Yeah, so you mentioned that the perimeter around the Capitol is likely going to be pretty similar to what it was if it were indoors. I know there was always going to be security on the parade route and by the White House. Are you going to be able to move officers from one place where there was going to be an outdoor ceremony, say on the parade route, closer to where the Capitol or Capitol One Arena?
Yes, we've for our agencies that are working with Capitol Police, we have reorganized where they'll be. It's very similar to where it was, and as Chief Smith said, we've got adequate number of agencies here. We've got thousands of police officers. We've got over 1,000 National Guardsmen here, and they are. We can move their assignment with the stroke of a pen.
And also also keeping in mind, the flexibility of this. I think what Agent McCole described was that there will be 2 layers with respect to how visitors or participants will be able to come inside Capital One Arena. Once we reach that number, outside of that second perimeter that has been extended due to the fact that the inauguration parade will take place inside Cap One, we will have the additional personnel where we would have had in other places around the city. We will still have individuals along the parade route. I will also offer up that we know that there are individuals who have come to our city to observe, witness this historic moment of the 60th presidential inauguration. The magnetometers will be open for individuals to come along the parade route. They will be screened and processed as we would if there was an actual parade, but they will be able to still come into that space on tomorrow to be able to witness the possibility of the presidential motorcade traveling from the White House to the Capitol. So there will be other places, if you will, and in particular along parade route where if individuals want to be able to come and watch that will be accessible to the public.
Can I ask how many, we heard 9th and G is a security checkpoint to get into Capitol. Are there any others, or is that the lone checkpoint to get access to 9th and G?
Okay, there is a smaller access point or checkpoint for press, but that at 9th and
We'd
G
like
is
to
the
know
only.
where that is.
I'm sure they'll share it with the market.
So for the public, there's only one entrance.
That is correct at the time.
And so, Chief, let me ask you kind of what I asked Agent McCool. What do you tell the tens of thousands of people who have come to D.C. hoping to see a parade, who will try to get into Capital One Arena?
What I will say to them is what I just offered up, the opportunity for participants, visitors who have come to our city to observe the presidential motorcade as it travels from the White House to the U.S. Capitol along the parade route on Pennsylvania Avenue. We initially had that area enclosed as a secured route. Magnetometers, people can come in and watch. That availability will still be available tomorrow.
So that's different, that's new than what we were told last night. We were told the public would have an opportunity from Capital One Arena to the White House after the event there, but now you're saying
They're different. I said initially that there are several places in which people can see it, right? So when you talk about once the capacity has been reached, if you will, inside at Cap One, by that time that parade route will be over, right? The motorcade will be over going from the White House to the U.S. Capitol.
So can we clarify how many opportunities the public would have to see the motorcade either go from the White House to the Capitol, from the Capitol to Capital One,
And those from Pennsylvania Avenue to the Capitol, and then they will still have the opportunity to see the motorcades as it goes from the White House to Cap One. Capitol One. I'm sorry. From the Capitol to Cap One, I'm sorry.
One more question.
And reverse.
I'm sorry about this, but that's very much different than what we were told in the press briefing last night. We were told the only opportunity was from Capital One.
Right. And I think what
House.
we have, I think, Mark, I think everybody's point that has happened with respect to this inauguration planning, we have to be flexible. And there are other opportunities. We want to be able to have an opportunity for those visitors who have come to this city to be able to at least see the motorcade as it travels from the White House to the U.S. Capitol. So therefore, the same parameters that we had in place with participants being able to come to Pennsylvania Avenue through the magnetometers to watch the motorcade go through, that availability will be made available to those folks that are in our city.
Last question.
Yes, sir.
Hi, thank you very much. Ronan from Perspectives TV from Canada. Since last night, there's been a lot of posts on social media, especially on X, saying that there's all kinds of threats regarding tomorrow. In one post, someone even said there's a nuclear threat. As absurd as it sounds, my question is, first of all, are you aware of it? And second, are there any actions taken because it's causing a lot of unrest? People are worried.
I think that any time we receive any information with respect to any type of threats to the city or any type of special event, we all become concerned, but we have our intelligence teams, fusion centers from all of our respective agencies that will take a good look at that information to ensure whether or not it's credible or not credible. And I think I've said before that we take every threat or any type of threat to either an event or to an individual person very seriously. At this time, we have not received any credible threats, but we're taking any threats that come into this city very seriously. Any other questions?
You want to talk about the weather? Is there a potential?
I'm not a meteorologist, but I can tell you a little bit about the weather. It's going to be cold. I mean, I think we have all, the purpose for the inauguration parade going inside of Capitol One is due to the fact of the inclement weather and the fact that it'll be relatively cold.
I meant for like the response if it snows, whatever. You know.
We have, as you know, this city prepares, I think, very well when it comes to inclement weather. Our DPW teams will be out across the city. They have already started putting salt and brine across the city. But I think the other piece of it is that we want people to dress warm and to be safe if they're going to be outside. We will have our fire and EMS staff available in the event there are any hypothermia issues. But what we want people to do is to be safe. Dress warm if you're going to be out in inclement weather. We already know what the temperature will be, which is why the parade moved inside. Take a good look, if you will, at some of our senior members in our city. Make sure they're well prepared, and our DPW team will be out there to ensure that we're clearing the snow as we did on January 6th.
Hey, Chief, after last night, are you preparing for Commander's Parade?
Commanders Parade, we will be ready for it. Go Commanders! How about that game last night? But Mark, we will be ready for a parade if that is what this city wants to do, to celebrate our Washington Commanders football team. What an amazing game last night. Go Commanders.